This weekend, Andy climbs a pillar, Ryan strikes some poses, and we descend to the world of the devil. I'm Ryan.
I'm Andy.
And this is Weekend Rental episode 164. All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode. Just past the Halloween season here. We're officially into November, which I guess based on my retail experience in the last week means we just forget that that's a holiday now and it's Christmas stuff everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
When did that happen? When did we go from Halloween to Christmas?
November 1st.
It's a weird, wild world we live in. People are just sell Christmas decorations.
I think they throw, it must be like daylight savings time to actually add to like the disorientation of Christmas.
Yes.
Happening so early. That's how they're sneaking it in there, I think.
That makes sense. We're all a little off from the time change, which if you live in a part of the world or country that doesn't adhere to daylight savings time, good for you. Because it's really dumb moving your clock forward and backwards in the fall and spring. I mean, not that I don't mind an extra hour, but like my wife trolls me every year. So like I wake up in a panic thinking I'm late for work, or she'll set the clock ahead during the sleep and then like make it seem like, oh, you got to get up so we can get our shopping done, you know? And then it's in reality 7 a.m. for me on my internal clock, but she'll convince me that it's 8 and I've slept in. And I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the shenanigans.
Yeah. And I've looked it up, like what it even serves its purpose. And it's like a flimsy concept already.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It was to be able to work the fields and the farms, but I mean, that hasn't been applicable in ages.
Right.
I would say since the advent of like electricity and modern lighting, that has posed little threat or problem.
Yep. And living up north, it just sucks because it just means dark way too early up here.
Yeah, I hop in my car when the sun's just barely coming over the horizon to drop my kids off to school, and it's already dark by the time I've left the office, which is just depressing as hell.
Yeah.
It's only getting worse. The days are only getting shorter.
The people in Alaska are calling us little bitches right now, yeah. I'm sure, but
that's true. And yeah, I guess I did spend a few months in Scandinavia where everyone has light boxes in their home that they stare into to not get depressed and suicidal. So it could be worse.
Yeah, very much.
But at least up there, they get to enjoy the northern lights. We just get darkness and bullshit down here.
That's true. Yeah.
Did you see like those pictures of the, like, I forget what they call it, like Steve or something, like some rare like coloration in the northern lights that happened just the other day?
No.
It's like bright blazing reds and purples. Like I've never seen anything like it. Apparently it was like this just massive solar flare that caused it.
Oh, wow.
It looked pretty badass.
Huh.
Especially if you were in Europe, Northern Europe, especially.
And able to see it. Yeah.
Yes.
Pictures don't really do it for that stuff usually.
Yeah. How much did someone mess with the color scheme on that, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, aside from that, what have you been up to since we last talked? Games, news, family stuff?
Well, I played a video game and I beat the video game.
You do that a lot. Is this a small game again?
This is a small game again. So this is a Game Pass game that just launched last week or something.
Okay.
Called Jusant.
Okay. That's how you say that?
Juice Ant in America. I don't know how to say it.
Just Ant, yes.
It's a French word. It's a French word. Sorry, Cestus, for butchering this, but it's I think it means low tide or something like that. It is one of those very artsy games.
Walking simulator, if you will, or
kind of. It's a climbing simulator.
Oh, totally different.
This is, you're climbing up rock faces. It's just a giant pillar in the middle of a desert.
Okay.
And you're climbing up it, and you're getting to all these different civilizations, different levels of the civilization. Everybody is gone, missing.
You're reading a lot of the top. Do you reach Moo Mesa?
Oh boy, if you knew what was happening at the top, it's way.
I really want it to be the Cowboys Moo Mesa. That's what I want.
There's Cowboys wearing cowboy hats are a lot less strange than what's happening in the top
Okay.
of this one. So
Okay.
the it used to, yeah, as you're climbing along, you're finding different notes. So that's also a lot of like, oh, you're just reading notes to find out what the story is and what's happening. And basically it was this, people lived here and now they don't because the water dried up. It used to be an ocean underneath, and
Okay.
the water is gone. It has not rained. And you're basically trying to get to the top because there's some legend that that's how there's creatures up there that make it rain. So yeah, it's like a 4-hour game, something like that.
Okay.
It's just about perfect length because the climbing feels really good. It's kind of got that Uncharted type style where it's like you can
Find
obviously
the
see
breadcrumbs. Yeah.
yeah. But there's a lot more puzzling to it too, because you actually put pittons in and
Oh.
you're like actually doing like real rock climbing type actions. So yeah, I think it's really good. There's a lot of puzzling going on. There's some supernatural stuff that also comes into play as far as both the story and how the gameplay works as you're climbing. But yeah, I would recommend it.
Is this like some of these games I always recommend to people to play, like 4 hours is getting a little long, but like they're better in one sitting. Is this that type of game that you would recommend? Like see it through, or
That's a tough question because I think the climbing can get repetitive.
okay.
The action of, as soon as you beat a level, which is kind of like a biome of this pillar or whatever, then it kind of, resets the biome, which is usually has a new gameplay mechanic too, which is interesting. But 5 minutes into it, you're kind of doing the same thing again.
Sure.
But it's still feels good. I just don't know if 4 hours straight of that
Okay.
would be good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and some of those it's fine to take a break, but there's stuff like, to me, like Brothers or Journey, where I feel like, or even Abzu, it's just like, just do it, like just go straight through it,
Sure.
because I think it's that more complete experience. But
yeah, this definitely has like that type of pretentiousness to it too.
Sure.
Kind of.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Like very artsy, and the music kind of swells, and it's kind of got like a Mandalorian type, baby Yoda type thing going on too. So
sure.
Yeah, overall I would say it's probably worth playing if you're into that game, if you know what those type of games are. Feels good at the end. It's good. Yeah.
It sounds like one I'd like. I like that sort of stuff. That just reminds me, I need to get back to that Blanc or whatever I bought for the Switch. We started it.
Oh yeah.
And I bet I'm a third through and just never picked it back up. I should do that. I'll have to check this one out. I like these types of games, especially my current stage in life. A lot of times that's exactly what I want and need. I don't need stress or
right
multiple hours or tears that I have to prestige on. And
yeah, that's so true. That's I think that's if I looked it up how long it was, and if it was anything longer than that, I probably would have dropped it.
Sure.
But it was like the perfect amount. Like, okay, that's a good amount to see it through. And I wish, most games were actually kind of that.
It's funny, speaking of Game Pass, I got a text from a former co-host on here who talked about beating Redfall and how it was like the most anticlimactic crap ending to a game. And I responded with, really? Could it be worse than being locked outside of a cave and then inexplicably having credits roll and your game ends? To which I got no response.
Oh boy.
It's like nothing is worse than that.
That was an all-timer.
Still salty about Generation Zero. Is that what it is?
Generation Zero, yeah. That was a good game.
Okay.
Good broken game.
Go with that. It is a good broken game, yes. Which, from the looks and reviews I've read on Redfall, it is also a fun broken game. Reviews are harsh on that thing, though. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like actual reviewers bombed it, but like players are kind of like, yeah, it's not that bad. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think they've fixed some of
Sure.
the stuff that was going on too, but
Yeah, you would
like
hope
they
so at
usually
this
do.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you like, I would try a little bit of it, and if the climbing stuff is not grabbing you, then you're definitely not going to like the rest of the game. But
Sure. I mean, I always like those things too. You know, so it's always the like, even if the gameplay shallow, it's like, what's over the next thing or what's up, you know, what's off screen. You know, that's always the draw.
yeah,
And as long as that's somewhat interesting, it's usually okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of the bummer thing is like there's so many like collectibles, but some of the collectibles don't do anything. Some of them are just letters that you're just reading. Some of them are just kind of like bonus gallery picture shit, you know. And it's like, well, sometimes the puzzle, sometimes the puzzles for those are good, but sometimes they aren't.
Sure.
And you don't necessarily, you know, a lot of times the path will split and then you don't know which way to go. And then you go down one and you figure out the puzzle and it's like, oh, well, this is the dead end to the collectible. And then that's like, well, that's kind of depressing, but at least I got something out of it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds neat. I'll check it out, even with the weird name.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Juice Ant.
Yeah, it reminds me. I was listening to Fire Escape, and they were talking about Alan Wake, and they're like, "What have you been playing besides Alan Walk?" I'm like, what? Oh, I get it. Yeah. So I picked up. Well, first of all, I'm sad to report that I don't know how Mario Wonder has been going at your house. We haven't touched it in 2 weeks, which makes me sad. But I did pick up that new WarioWare Move It. And I'm happy to report that it is everything you loved about what I consider the best WarioWare game, which is Smooth Moves for the Wii. It's that, but you have 2 Wiimotes essentially.
Okay.
It has the same faults in the sense that the technology isn't always as good for split-second decisions and timing as you would like. It's, you know, meaning the controls just simply aren't that tight or responsive in certain situations. But man, is that a lot of fun. You can do the main adventure mode in 2-player. There's also a party mode, which we haven't gotten to. Lots of poses. You know, they spend a lot of time introducing you to the certain poses that you're going to be doing through certain mini game challenges. I will say, I don't know what it's called, either the sword. I think it's called the sword. That positioning feels very masturbatory, and my son had a weird look on his face when the controller told him to do that. Aside from that, the rest of the game is pretty fun. Lots of genitalless nude men, though, which is kind of off-putting. Not sure why that's so emphasized in this game.
Are they Wario where?
No, like the bodybuilder, you know, like the whole Japanese thing, you know, with the whole like bald bodybuilder men with no clothes. They're just all like one color, and they've got very defined abs, butt cheeks, and muscles, just smooth in the front, I guess.
Oh, huh.
And it comes up a lot, which
I
could have done without that, is what I'm saying.
If you take enough steroids, maybe it shrinks.
That's true. That's very true. But yeah, it's I mean, it's a WarioWare game. I'd imagine in another 3 hours, I'll probably seen everything it's going to show me. However, that doesn't stop the ridiculousness and the fun and being able to do it 2 people side by side and making like goofy poses and like some of the combo things you have to work together to do, like pass dynamite through people's legs or like use your ass to like blast snowballs together to make a giant snowman. That stuff feels pretty cool. I always wish these WarioWare games sold at like $40 instead of the full retail. But aside from that, I gotta say it's a much better WarioWare game than we got the last go around. It fits what makes the Switch unique, and the game's much better for it. I think it'll be one of those party games that we'll pick up pretty consistently from here on out.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because I got that last one and I was kind of like, well, I blew through it in a couple of hours and it was like, okay, well, kind of done with this now. So yeah, this one sounds like it's a big upgrade. I think the kids would like it a lot more too.
Yeah. Yeah, the trickiest one I've noticed is like there's a pose that you need to do for one of them where it uses the IR sensor. So like you have to make hand gestures, like hold up the right number of fingers and like have it read your hand. But like the timing you need to do in a WarioWare game to drop your left-handed controller, grab the other one, flip it the right way, and then make the motion is damn near impossible.
Yeah,
so
I would imagine.
It's pretty wild there. It's crazy that they implemented that though. It's like a really unique thing because I think virtually everyone forgot that it has an IR sensor.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fun. But yeah, grab it. It's good. And then because we were playing that, my son and I had ordered like way back when I think Best Buy was doing that like 10 games for $10 for 10 days. I grabbed that Rabbids like Party of Legends or Party of Legend.
Yeah.
And we didn't play it because it required the Joy-Con, and I never have the Joy-Con set up. Like it's the only way you can play it is individual Joy-Con. Like they're never charged or anything. Because I'm always playing with traditional controllers. So because all four of us couldn't do it, we put it away. But since we had everything ready to go, we popped that in, and it's basically based on like the Journey to the West is like the loose framework for the story.
Really? Okay.
Which, yeah, why they need the story, I don't know at all. And I'd say I'm glad I paid $10 for it. It's a always persistent 4-player game from what I can tell, at least in the main story mode. So if you don't have more people, you just have AI. And like playing that after playing like say WarioWare or Mario Party, like you just realize like how nuanced and like good they are at disguising loading screens and getting you to the next thing. And then you play a game like this from Ubisoft where it's just like generic clip art games like shoved between consecutive loading screens that are just constantly happening, like the same loading screen every time.
Ooh.
And it's not that it's not fun. It's just that, you know, WarioWare presents it like this weird story progression thing with wacky music that speeds up. And then like here, they're like, here's the same loading screen with the same 5-second clip over and over and over again. And it really shows that it's not a Nintendo polished level product.
Yeah, we have this game too, and I think my son has been the only one that's played it. I don't think I've ever seen a screen from it.
It's perfectly adequate. Like if you've played any of those other party games
from
with the Rabbids, you know, I think wasn't the first one was on the Wii too, wasn't it? Like the Rayman Rabbids part. Rayman Raving Rabbids was the introduction to Rabbids.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then they're like,
bastard.
yeah, poor Rayman. He gets kicked to the curb because.
So yeah, I don't know about this one. I think $10 is the right price to pay. Maybe even 20 if you're really into. But I mean, it's the most simple type games, right? Like everything's a ripoff of something else, or a version of something you played before in a previous one. Nothing inherently bad about it, just absolutely nothing memorable either.
Yeah.
Plus, you have to deal with the dumb shit the Rabbids are always screaming, and you just can't turn that off. They're just obnoxious. They're awful characters.
Yep. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, we've been touch and go with Mario.
Okay.
Like we'll play it some nights, and then the next time, not so much. I don't know. I feel like my Mario, like I really can't do a whole ton of Mario, and just even for how varied Mario Wonder is, I still feel fatigued a little bit over just the platforming, I guess. But I think we're in the 4th world right now, so we're getting through it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll see the end of it. It's just, yeah, I just can't play it. I don't think any less of it. I just don't play it in big bursts anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like since we kind of like progressed and started as a family, I feel like it's not right to pick it up without them. So I just kind of left it. We'll get there eventually. We got a lot of snow coming our way in the future months. So
yeah,
plenty of time.
I did see that they announced that they sold 4-point-some million copies of it in 2 weeks, which is the fastest selling Mario game, which is nuts that this kind of game that just was like, well, it feels like we
A
kicked it
lesser,
out.
yeah,
We kind of kicked it out the door because it was just like we announced it a couple months before release type thing, didn't
yeah,
make a huge fanfare of it.
yeah. We arguably like for a year that we were coming into saying Nintendo was going to have nothing other than Zelda. We're arguably getting one of the best
Yeah.
like first party years on the Switch right now, which is crazy.
They also put out a statement talking about how they plan on, they use their corporate speak to basically say that we plan on supporting the Switch for a while. Because I think,
Right.
I mean, how can you be like, yeah, next year we're just going to dump all this and start over with a new console? Because it's like anything they put out now, it's million sellers because everybody has a Switch.
Well, but just make your neck thing backwards compatible, right? Like,
Yeah,
as long as it runs on an NVIDIA chipset, like that shouldn't really be too much of a problem. It's basically Android and NVIDIA, right? Like they should be able to do anything.
I forget what the quote was. It was something about like they're not bound to a typical console generation or something like that. So it sounds like maybe the next thing is just kind of like a pro, or
I mean, I get that they're not bound to that, but like, aren't they going to have to be bound to the fact that like publishers are working on different? You're not going to have publishers lag behind to publish on a lesser platform. I mean, granted, they can put stuff on Steam and stuff too, but I don't know. I just feel like the horsepower was old when it launched.
Mm-hmm.
How much longer can you sit on it? It's wild.
Yeah.
Although I heard the announcement too, rumors that Sony's going to launch the next PlayStation in 2028, which seems entirely too soon.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a huge run for a console, but I also feel like it's a console that hasn't really started its life yet. And that's only 5 years away.
Yeah, I feel like this is the year where it's like, okay, people are getting into it now, right?
Yeah, PlayStation 5 is here now in 2023. Yep. Not 2 years ago. Now.
Yeah.
And the Xbox is dead. Yeah, I don't know. Well, in other exciting Nintendo news, I'm sure you caught it as we were getting ready to prepare for this episode tonight, but like late, well, I don't know what time in Japan, but around 5 p.m. supper time, our time here, it was formally announced that a live action Legend of Zelda movie is in the works and moving forward. It's been financed
with Sony Pictures,
which is weird. Sony's getting a cut in Nintendo. So yeah, Shigeru Miyamoto, and I forget the name, but he was the founder and CEO of Marvel Studios. He's produced also like a lot of the Spider-Man movies and the Spider-Verse stuff. So that seems like a good fit. They announced the director, I forget the name, but they were giving him like his big credit was Maze Runner, which scares me because like from everything I know about the Maze Runner movies, they weren't necessarily true to the source material.
Oh, really?
Maybe I'm wrong though. I don't know if you've ever watched those. I have seen them all, but they're not memorable.
I think I saw the first one and I felt like I was like, they're not going to make the rest of these.
Yeah. And then they did, and then when you get to the fourth one, like it's just a zombie apocalypse. It's like what is actually happening in
oh wow.
These kids like escape the maze to find out that they're
should have been stayed in the maze.
100%. Yeah, it's like a whole Terminator 2 vibe and like walled cities, and none of it ever made sense to me. None of it was inherently bad, but it also doesn't make me think like that's the guy for Zelda. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's exciting, right?
Oh yeah. The fact that they said it's a live action, I think that's the interesting part, because they thought with the success of the Mario movie that it was going to be that pure that.
Yeah, and the success of like look at something like Into the Spider-Verse, like you can do a good, well animated, mature animated film, right? Like I'd have been fine with that direction too. Yeah, I think live action makes a lot of sense for Zelda though.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting because Mario can live off of all of the references and stuff that it did for Nintendo, where you can't really do that as much in Zelda. And Zelda has some references that link between the games, pun intended, I guess. But I don't know if what do you do in a new movie? Do you make a new story, or is this a new, totally different world?
I feel like you have to go off the lore. I feel like you have to go off the base lore.
Sure,
it's got to be like
I mean, yeah, it's a Hero of Time,
Hyrule, Ganon. Like you gotta just the first one. But here's what I want to know: does Link talk in a live action Zelda movie? It's a fair question.
Mm-hmm. Just hi-yos. That would be, yeah. Huh.
That casting is going to be crucial, though. You know what I mean? You are not casting an action star. You are not casting an adult, in my mind. You are casting,
It's not a voice that you can hide behind either,
right.
Your face is there, too.
You're looking essentially for, like, a confident 16-year-old cross-country athlete who has a sword and a tunic, like, that's how I feel. Like, he should come across as the unlikely hero, right?
Yeah.
Like, I could see, like, what's that little dipshit who plays Spider-Man in the new movies?
Tom Holland.
Yeah, like that type of build. I don't want Tom Holland to be it. But like that's the type of build I want. It's like,
yeah, well, he was Spider-Man, so maybe there's a link on that, but
God, I hope not.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know what you do. Harrison Ford. I want Harrison Ford as Link.
They probably had to go with Sony because they didn't want to have to do the whole pandering thing through anything that Disney owned, because Link would have to be Hispanic and female, and
that's true. Yeah,
Banner would have to.
Link would be the person that needs to get saved. No, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. The Sony collaboration is odd to me. Like, just handing inevitably hundreds of millions of dollars over to your biggest gaming competitor. Maybe it's like a peace offering for, like, hey, sorry we fucked you over and led you to make a console that's been crushing, but we're all good.
Yeah. At the end, they might back out of this deal and be like, call up Philips. So, like, are you doing movies?
Philips doesn't have a film division. We're doing it anyway. We're doing it live. Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think with the things they've said, I think they have people who are in the right backgrounds and like style of film that this could really work.
Yeah.
I think also so. What I'm concerned about, though, is that because Zelda is, aside from the cartoon, a mostly silent, stoic protagonist, I think this film could really alter a core gamer's perception of what that character is in a negative way, depending on how this comes out.
Yeah.
So I'm a little afraid for that.
I'm surprised it's a movie. Well, I'm not surprised because they obviously made $1 billion off the last one. So,
right.
But I feel like Zelda as a live action, especially, would work better as a series.
Yeah.
Because there's so much ground to cover as if you're going to be talking to Gorons and Zora and, like.
Yeah, that's true. Like, look at what they've done with The Witcher and stuff. Like, yeah, that's true. God, I hope they get like some big dumb guy with like plastic rocks all over his face who just runs around saying Goro after everything he says.
Yep.
And if they don't have Tingle,
it's The Rock.
Oh God, how perfect would that be? So good. Yeah, I suppose that'll be the next thing. Like in a year from now, we'll hear the initial casting, right?
Yeah. I wonder. Yeah, I could see it being in the Tears or the Breath of the Wild, that world.
Yeah, especially since it seems like that's where they want to live with that franchise for the foreseeable future.
And they just make characters out of everybody in that too. Yeah.
Right, and it is like the most down to traditional. Outside of like the first couple. It's the very core story without any weird shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's no talking boats or fucking masks and full moons and it's all the stuff you want. Yeah, it'll be cool. Cautiously optimistic on that. I'm just glad it's not Peter Jackson, or it'd be like 20 films over 12 hours and be shot in New Zealand.
Get the whole Lord of the Rings treatment. Yeah.
Speaking of that, did you hear that new Beatles song that they used his like technology to like pull out the AI stuff for and put out this last week?
I haven't heard that. No,
And
I haven't heard the song or whatever.
I think it's Now and Then is what it's called. It's just like, it's the most like anticlimactic thing. Cause it's like, yeah, it's a perfectly fine song. Like, but this is theoretically and pretty much definitely the last new Beatles song that the world will ever hear. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's okay. And
until the AI is making
that's true
Beatles songs from scratch, I guess. But
I watched a whole Rabbit Theory video on that because that drummer left. No, he got fired. Left or got fired from Slipknot. So that's the whole theory now, is that like because Clown and Corey Taylor own the band exclusively, that they're just cycling through members, and that Slipknot will just live on forever with other people under the masks, and it's just going to be like the Blue Man Group of heavy metal, I guess. Which is fine.
I suppose that's why they do masks. It. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's like you've heard his son too, like in that Vended band he does. Like he's just Corey Taylor. He sounds like 100% like Corey. He could carry Slipknot on for another 20 years.
That's the worst part about that is you don't get to use the trivia fact of Max Weinberg's son is in Slipknot.
Is he really?
Well, that was, Jay Weinberg was the drummer that got fired.
Oh, the new one? Okay, I didn't know that.
So, Conan's old drummer, his son was in Slipknot.
That's pretty great.
Funny.
Yeah. Took us down a weird rabbit hole with that. It's all the way to Slipknot. Trying to think. Well, I should let you go on. I've been rambling on a few of my topics here.
I can talk about a few things I've been watching, I guess.
Yeah.
We're still I'll start with my wife's been putting on this Nat Geo stuff recently, just to have around in the background, right? And there's a couple series about this. They always have like blah blah blah, great things to see with blah blah blah, some guy. And the one that we've been watching is this guy named Bertie Gregory or something. And he's from Europe. But the interesting thing about this is it's the same show as what you would expect. We're going to go somewhere, look at animals, right? But the twist on this is that it kind of goes from his point of view of like him trying to film it. So the whole show is like how he is going to go about filming this and trying to get what he wants on camera, right?
It's like the behind the scenes of lugging like 150 pounds of camera gear into the jungles and shit.
Yeah, and like how they get platforms up in these trees to be like next to a nest and shit like that, So it's kind of weird because you're also like, well, somebody's taping and video camera. There's a camera guy shooting film of a guy shooting film, right?
Yeah.
And most of it comes down to is like this guy just has a drone and he's very proud of it, right? He has a very fancy drone that he can take over. So it's like, oh, there's some animals. Let me get the drone out. Got to get the drone out. Oh, my battery's dead in my drone. I got to come back and switch out batteries in my drone.
So it sounds like a good show for drone enthusiasts, is what you're saying.
Right? Yeah, it's pretty good. I will say it's not on the epic level of like a Planet Earth style of like, holy shit, this is amazing cinematography. But what they do capture is pretty cool.
Okay.
And seeing different things that like, oh wow, you wouldn't see this in, traditional ways that they've filmed things before, right? And it's just amazing to see like how some animals have adapted to hunt. That's what most of it comes down to. It's just like how do these animals just like know to do this now, you know?
It's interesting.
Because they're hungry, I guess.
Gotta eat.
Yep.
Yeah, I always like that stuff. It's always kind of interesting. And kind of it's kind of fun too when you get to see the process behind some stuff. Like I've watched a few shows like that where they'll show like behind the scenes of like a Bear Grylls or something. You're seeing like all the shit that has to go on to make that show seem like nobody's there. It's pretty wild.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly pretty much the same type of style, you know. They'll be like, okay, we're just staring at an ocean looking for dolphins for 3 days straight, you know. And it's like, well, that's not entertaining TV if you were going to show that, but that's kind of what it is, right?
Yeah. It's pretty cool. What's that one called?
It's a number of different series. Okay. So it's, you know, Epic Adventures with Birdie Gregory,
Epic Adventures something.
Animal Up Close, and you know, just all these like five episode runs or whatever that he.
Are you finding that on Disney Plus?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say that seems like that's where most of that stuff's at. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. And
Has
then
he killed an animal with the drone yet?
No, so
like there's a hockey skate incident, but like with a parakeet or something.
There was one episode where he's trying to film how crowned eagles in like Africa hunt, which is crazy. Like those guys can take down like antelope and shit like that, you know. They'll like swoop down, kill a monkey, and bring it up to the nest and rip it apart, you know. But their main thing, I guess, is like fruit bats. And during this migration, there's like a million fruit bats. The whole sky is just fruit bats everywhere. And he's like, I'm going to bring my drone up there. It's like, jeez.
That's not going to work.
You're going to put your drone in the middle of these fruit bat swarms? That's not
just like a blood idea. Like flesh and chunks everywhere. It's awesome.
No, I'm sure probably most of those shows, I bet you there's somebody on staff that's like, you know, we got to treat the animals the way, you know. Yeah. And I'm sure they're all produced to add intention, and they edit different ways to be, you know, somewhat fake or whatever. But
yeah, we got to make it interesting somehow, right?
Yep. And we're still going on our Supernatural run, and I wanted to bring up one episode. You said you didn't see this, or you don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, so I read the description when I saw your notes, and I do not recall it. I know I watched it because I've watched them all, but I don't remember this one.
Yeah, this one it's wild. It's called Baby, which is the name of the car from Supernatural. The episode starts, they're washing the car, but it's like you just see from the windshield as they're talking back and forth as they're washing the car. And then as the episode goes along, it's just like, well, this is just kind of weird. Like, this is a different kind of strange way that they're presenting this episode or whatever. And then it gets batshit wild. They're doing their normal things of killing different people that turn out to be werewolves and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it becomes very clear that the whole episode is going to be from the perspective of inside the car. Mm-hmm. Which is rather amazing. I really like these type of episodes where they kind of think outside the box and do some weird stuff, meta stuff. And this one just seems like what if we just did this? What if we did an episode like a challenge to be like, oh, if we just shot it from inside the car, you know? And then they just did it.
Well, it's so fitting too at that point in the series because the car is as much a character and so iconic as the actors involved. So it's like kind of cool that they do that and like give it its due.
Yep. And there's different characters involved, and a lot of stuff happens outside the car. There's a lot of fighting on the car. The car gets pretty much destroyed during the entire episode. It's at the very end where they pan out, and then you see like how wrecked the car is.
And then they go to Bobby's and spend months fixing it up again.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That car, I think, gets rebuilt from like frame. I don't know how many times throughout that series.
Yeah. I just love how like pretty much only once in the very early seasons they show how they make money, where they just go hustle a pool table at the local bar. That's how they make their money. And then
or the credit card fraud schemes that
like
Sam is very adept at. So
they hack those. Yep. Yeah. But other than that, it's like you're just supposed to be like, yeah, they can deal with it. They got money. They can live in this same hotel room that's shaped different ways every single episode.
It has a different bar wall that's like, there's different doilies and the spindles this time.
Yeah, we put different wallpaper on this time.
Totally different. Because every hotel I go to has that half wall with the spindles.
Yeah.
But they're square this time. Yeah. Yeah, I like those episodes too. I think one of my favorite ones, the Scooby-Doo one. And then I don't know where in the series it falls. You've probably hit it. And I forget what the enemy is, if it's like a jinx or something or whatever, but like it curses Dean and just makes him like infinitely like clumsy and sucky. So he just like keeps eating shit, like hurting himself.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
saying stupid shit the whole episode. Yep. That one cracks me up.
Yeah, that guy, he shows up a few times, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll ruin it, but yeah, his evolution as to what he is in that thing changes quite dramatically over the course of time. But yeah, that's cool. I don't remember that episode, but I agree with you. Like it seems like there's one or two of those every season or so. Let's just kind of let somebody go with a cool idea, and it really helps keep that series fresh. Especially if you're getting through long stints of where like if you get to those points where they're doing like 3 or 4 episodes where it's all continuous storyline, it's just like let's refresh. And I think they do, for the most part, a pretty good job of knowing when to do that. There's times, but
it felt really fresh because this season so far, just like, the darkness. What's going to happen with the darkness? God. It's like, so
yeah.
But
some of that stuff,
I still, every season there's a couple that I find really entertaining.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you're still going through it because it's a commitment.
Yep. Well, at least there's an end.
That's true. And the prequel got 1 season, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
Outside of the anime, which I still have to watch, but yeah. Have you been watching any of the Black Friday ads?
I haven't really because around this time is when they do the big buy 2 get 1 free on like Target, and then Amazon matches it and all that stuff. But every year it's like, it's less and less stuff that's even qualifies.
Basically, it used to be everything.
Switch doesn't. Yeah.
Right.
Nintendo stuff just doesn't qualify anymore, basically. So
yeah, I've been watching some, and I'm not in the market for much. I saw though that Nintendo just announced their like best deals, like the official deals. It's like I think you can get the OLED with Smash and 3 months of Switch Online for like $350. Like, okay, that's fine. You can get a standard Switch, which I don't know why they're still making both SKUs. Maybe it's old stock. You can get the standard Switch with Mario 8 in 3 months, which at $300, that's fine. And then I think the other one was Switch Lite with Animal Crossing for $200. So basically all the bundles are just like console price, free digital game. Which, I mean, I guess it's fine, but we're 5 years in. Like, throw us a $150 Switch Lite. Throw us a $250 traditional Switch bundle. You know what I mean?
When I saw that one of their big specials was they were dropping the price of Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze down to $29.99. I was like, it was a $20 game on the Wii U.
Right.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, I saw they're doing like the Joy-Con bundle thing again too, where it's like one of the Mario Party games plus a set of Joy-Con for $100. It's like, all right, you saved $30. Good job. Like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
So that's been lackluster. And the other thing I was keeping an eye on was like the PlayStation 5, because I was like, well, clearly the new SKU is going to hit. That's probably going to be the bundle that they'll have for Black Friday. And it turns out that is true, but it's $500 for the one with the disc drive. And
so it is the new one.
Yes, and a digital copy of Modern Warfare 3. Well, I assume it's digital. I didn't double check that.
Yeah.
But it's just like, well, it's not bad. That's not super exciting though either. But I saw the release date, at least at Best Buy, probably everywhere, is the 10th on that. So this Friday. So we'll see. I'll probably, because I gotta birthday coming up for my son. I think that's
Yeah.
the thing I'll snag so he can stop complaining about how he sucks at Fortnite because it's on the Switch. So,
Well, once you do that, it's all the. I mean, he's got to own up to his skill then, right? There's no more excuses after that.
Right. E-gaming leagues. He's just gonna have to double down and commit. So, yeah. And other than that, I feel like I just haven't seen much exciting for Black Friday. Walmart's starting their stuff on the 8th, like they always do. You know, there's like $15 vinyl starting then. Usually the same thing I feel like they offer, which is like a 50-inch Roku TV for $150. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem like there's. I mean, I think the reality is that the manufacturing prices on electronics have gone up, so they can't really do anything better than they've done in the past years, which is probably true of consoles too.
Yeah,
it's just kind of disappointing because, you know, like we're saying, especially with the Switch, it's been out there so long. Like, just give us a really big countdown, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they have to be making money like crazy on that stuff. You can't tell me a Switch doesn't have huge margins compared to what it was years ago at the same price, basically.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm not excited about any of the like game price deals or anything either. I just don't buy that much for new consoles other than it's Switch because of Game Pass. So
yeah, that's the thing. If it's not on Switch, then Game Pass, and then PlayStation 5 I don't have. So
yeah,
and then it's. I think even last year, I think the only thing I got was the Sonic Frontiers, which was like $25 like immediately, which was like, okay, well, we gotta.
Yeah, I wonder if the new.
You gotta get it for that.
What's the new Sonic?
Superstars, yeah.
Superstars. That'll be $20.
That's got a bomb. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's universally everyone's like, probably shouldn't have released that at $60.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'll be kind of a lackluster. Well, I think the thing too is like I think people right now are just not wanting to throw a bunch of money at stuff because we're teetering on potentially not a soft landing.
Financial ruin.
Yeah, well, it's like every analyst has got a different. Yeah, we're braced for a soft landing, and the next person's like, no, don't buy anything. You're doomed. You know. Yeah,
now is the time to buy a house. No, it's not. It's the worst time to buy a house.
Yeah, I think anyone could say don't buy a house. I don't know. 18% inflation over the last 2 years, plus the interest rates are at an all-time high. Yeah, maybe a bad investment. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but yeah. Well, I saw in the notes you've been playing a classic game potentially.
Oh yeah. So for whatever reason, just booted up Minecraft on PC because you can get it through Xbox Game Pass on there, obviously too.
Yep.
And it's been years and years and years since I've played the PC, and the amount of mods and stuff on that thing now is a totally different beast than what I was doing. I was making my own mods way back in the day, and it was just like, I can make this block float around and move. That was like cutting edge stuff. And now it's I mean, the one that my son has been playing it's basically Pokemon in Minecraft. Yeah. And you're playing
like
both.
Whole thing scripted, like NPCs, dialogue.
Not so much that, but I think there are gyms and battles and stuff like that. So like the combat systems in there, and there's just Pokemon all over the world. You just go fight them and catch them and do whatever.
Nice.
I think the card games in there, it's wild what they're doing in Minecraft these days. So checking that out, and obviously the different shader packs that you can get on a PC look pretty nice.
Yeah, that one with ray tracing, it's like, man,
yeah,
this is as nice as you can make block games look.
Yep. Yeah. It's like, yeah, the sun and the lighting is very good, except everything has a sharp edge and makes sharp shadows.
Yeah, I like the one where you do like the ray tracing with like the realistic water effects. So it's like, yeah, the water looks pristine and gorgeous, and then it's just like chunks of shit around it.
Yeah.
It's well lit.
Yeah.
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 It's crazy too, like how much they've added to that game just in terms of like biomes, rule sets, engineering. Like it's all, even just the base game is so much more than it ever was when we played.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just like, I think the latest update, there's like some monster that's like down in the pits.
Yeah.
That hear you, your footsteps, and then attack you. And it's like pitch black. It takes all the light away. So it's like there's like some horror elements going on down in these caves now.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Thing just keeps going though.
My kids, like, the biggest thing for them was when they added oxalotls like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the best animal ever. I'm like, YouTube.
Yeah, I think my kids are very much excited that they get to play all these things that their favorite YouTube people play now. Yeah. So
I should send you a video that will terrify you. Maybe you've seen it. I'll find it on YouTube and text it to you, but it's like millennials aren't ready for Generation Alpha, which I didn't realize, like, Generation A is what our children are. It's like 2010s up through now.
Okay.
And I love my son, but he's in like a whole different world sometimes. And they interviewed these two kids on a New York City street, and they're talking about like drip and Riz, and I'm just like, I sent it to my wife, and I was like, it terrifies me that they're exactly like our son. I was like, this whole generation is morons. Like nothing they're saying makes any fucking sense. Like it's just wild. And I'm like, yeah, I thought my kid was a spaz, but I guess when you're raised off of like fucking YouTube shorts and Let's Play idiots, they all speak the same level of dumb.
Yeah. How do you have like the biggest depth of content that you could explore in the entire history of
the US? All funnel to the same
and the same thing.
Garbage.
Yeah.
It's the algorithms, man. YouTube's killing our children.
Jeez. Yeah.
They get all their cultural knowledge through YouTube and Fortnite.
Yep. Which, can you imagine like them being our age and having a podcast be like, what do you even talk about? Because obviously you still have the same stuff going on, but at the same time, what are you going to remember? Are you going to be like, oh, remember that one YouTube video?
Right. Yeah. You have it's all short-term memory based, like disposable nuggets of culture.
Yeah.
It's so wild. Yeah.
I guess that'll be when Mr. Beast is president or something.
So. I mean, we could do worse. We might have already done worse. I saw there was like that new trailer for that President Camacho, whatever, the dude from Idiocracy.
Oh yeah, Camacho.
he's like running again in 2024. Fitting.
Well, let's try.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm trying to think. Did I have? I don't think I had anything else. What's Dreamlight Valley? Is that? Oh, that's the Disney game you've been playing.
That too? Yeah,
that's still a thing.
That's still a thing. So the big news. This is a scandal in the Dreamlight Valley community.
Oh, geez.
Is this game that has been in early access for a year now, basically.
I thought it was just a free-to-play game.
So it's been in early access, and you had to pay to get into this early access, right?
Okay.
And this whole time, it's like, okay, once it's out of early access, it'll be a free-to-play game, and all the hooks were there, all the battle pass type things, and cosmetics and all this stuff. And then recently they said, okay, we're going to have this event talking about our continued, additions to this game past launch day when it becomes 1.0. And also here's this blog post. And then the blog post is about this. We are no longer targeting this game as a free-to-play game. This is going to be pay game. Also, there's going to be an expansion pass. Basically a month after we've launched the game out of early access.
Pay how? Like pay to buy once or pay a monthly subscription?
It's pay to buy once, but
Okay.
it sure seems like the free content is not going to be all that free.
Can't do that. It's been out forever.
Yeah.
That's as bad as that, like, what was that fighting game? Like the Warner Brothers Brawl thing that they're like, just kidding. That was open beta. We're shutting it down now and it's gone.
Yeah. And
now
it's
that's
gone.
coming back somehow for money. Yeah, there's like season 2, I think, and they want cash.
Oh. Yeah, I wonder if like this early access stuff is to see if they can get their free to play model to a sustainable part, and if it doesn't, then they're like, okay, well, this is
that's not gonna work though. There's enough, like, kids will just go back to Roblox. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they don't need that.
Yeah,
parents aren't gonna buy it.
I just hope that what they were doing was changing, because they were charging like there was skins for your house, you know, that would make it look like, oh, a Disney castle or something. And it was like $20.
Jesus.
So I understand that if it's a free to play game and those are like the premium things and you're getting the crazy people to buy, but obviously they weren't buying it. But I think my wife is still pretty excited about the direction it's going, and I'm pretty sure we're buying the expansion pass, because that's like a whole new island that you get to start with all these other people. So still a good game.
Just overall, give her a modded Minecraft with Disney
characters. Yeah,
Dream Valley. It'll be fine.
Yeah, here you can farm right here.
You can build whatever you want. It's free.
And Mickey Mouse is over there in his house. Oops, I left the mobs on. Oh shit.
Mickey's dead. And then the mobs are just like zombie Mickey's coming after you, and Donald. And great. Yeah, that's wild. I hadn't heard any of that.
I don't blame you.
I totally forgot that thing was. I totally forgot that thing was out. To be quite honest with you.
Right.
My kids tried it for a little bit, and it ran, for whatever reason, it ran like shit on the Switch.
Oh yeah, so
it's like they just gave up on it.
I've heard the Series S is pretty bad that way too on that game. So
yeah, well, the S is for suck. So
yeah,
shit.
The Series suck.
That'd probably be a better selling console. Actually, it is better selling than the X, I guess.
Oh yeah. But now that the important news is out of the way, I think we can go to our staff picks.
Well, do you have more to say on Dream Valley?
No.
Okay. Well, let me go with my staff pick first, because it's going to tie well into an earlier show you were mentioning, Supernatural, and this is Kolchak. I'm not sure if I've talked about this before, but basically this is like it's either 70s, I think it's 70s, made for TV movie it started out as, and it's the dad from A Christmas Story. And he plays kind of like this quirky, womanizing, hot-headed detective, but he only likes to explore. He somehow inexplicably finds these supernatural stories and pieces them together. So it was apparently Kolchak, the Night Stalker, was the highest rated made for TV movie ever made, most watched, biggest.
Whoa.
Back in the day. So then I got a sequel, Kolchak, the Night Strangler, which is basically a direct sequel where he's in a different town because he was booted out of the last town because the cops are like, you can't tell there are people getting killed by vampires. You see, like, we're running you out of town, and we ran off your pretty little lady too. And that's kind of the end. Both of these movies are great, especially if you like that like campy sort of like cop drama stuff mixed with sci-fi. And then all of this was so popular that they spun it off into a series that had like a 20 episode run on TV.
Really?
Wow. Those are great too. I've only seen like a handful of those, but it ended after that. And essentially this is sort of like the first really mainstream popular, like dark sci-fi comedy. And actually they credit the writers and creators of X-Files credit that series as the inspiration for what they did with the X-Files. And in fact, that same actor is actually in a few episodes of the X-Files, and he's like a retired officer who's like basically considered in the canon like an OG founder of the early program that would become the X-Files. So it's pretty neat. So if you like Supernatural and you like the X-Files and you like old campy cop shows, smartass, like this is great. Like it's a great show and it's so funny to watch this character that I've only ever identified as Ralphie's dad from A Christmas Story, like play this role. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and plus, like seeing that type of show in the 70s, where there's no technology basically at all, really. So
yeah,
how they
pretty cool.
It. Huh? Was this a Svengoolie thing that you found? Or what?
Yeah, I had seen them before, but yeah, over Christmas or over the Halloween month they re-showed the first one, which they'd showed earlier in the year, The Night Stalker, and I watched that. And then The Night Strangler was on the next week, so yeah, I watched them both within the last month. And then the series they did a marathon on maybe like 4 or 5 months back on like a Sunday on MeTV, so I watched several of them then.
Wow.
But yeah, they're all great, like really just quirky, funny, stupid, and I don't know, it's just so funny seeing, because the actor looks just like he does in The Christmas Story. I mean, he's like arguably younger, but just seeing him like hopping in bed with like these scantily clad like 20-year-old women, and it's like, no, Ralphie's dad, what are you doing? It's just scarring. It's like watching your dad sleep with another woman. You know what I mean? It's disturbing for our generation.
Yeah, especially when you thought the worst thing that he did was use some curse words.
Right. Yeah, very, very interesting. And I think you can get, I don't know about the movies, they're probably on DVD. I know you can get a DVD of the original series, and I'd imagine between Tubi, Pluto, whatever, YouTube, you'll find
I'm
it.
sure
It's free.
Nobody's caring about where the shit's at.
Exactly.
I'm sure.
Not at all.
Wow, I've never heard of that. That's crazy that it was that popular. Only got one season.
Yeah.
On top of that.
Well, so apparently like that was a big thing. Like the actor who plays Kolchak started his own production crew apparently to greenlight the series because he loved the character so much, but he didn't own the character or write the character for the movies he played in. So he basically like stole the IP, and that became a big drama and why it ended up not getting renewed. But apparently like the series did well enough too. So.
Kolchak and Columbo, get them together.
Yeah, there you go. How about you?
I'll stick to the scary theme that I had from last one. Even though Halloween is come and gone, we watched a movie called Barbarian. It was on HBO Max. Have you seen this movie?
It sounds kind of familiar, but
okay. So the movie starts where this lady books a Airbnb of a house, and she finds out that somebody's already in there. And it was double booked, right? But you don't really know.
This isn't a romantic comedy?
No, this is a horror movie.
That's a different movie that I've seen then.
Yeah. I'm sure it works in different ways, right? Yeah. The girl was definitely not into this guy because obviously it's a situation like, well, is this really, kind of creepy, right?
Yep.
And then the movie spends some time in that scenario, like, this is awkward. What's really going on here? The movie's trying to ratchet up tension. And then it says, nope, this is a completely different thing than what you're thinking. And it just hard cuts to the Mac guy. What's his name? Zeke or Troy or whatever we were calling.
Zeke, aka Troy.
Yeah, he's in this movie like halfway through and becomes the main character. So yeah, and then it gets into some really weird shit.
Yeah, I definitely have not heard or seen any clips of this.
Yeah.
New?
I think it's a few years old now. Okay. It was big back when it came out. It was pretty fairly popular, and it's Yeah, it's basically a lot to do with the basement, and what's happening in the basement. And it's pretty messed up, but also kind of one of those that's like, oh, this is, you really think about it, right? Even though it doesn't make sense.
2022.
Okay, yeah.
Damn new.
Yep.
So yeah, there is at some point a barbarian?
No. I think that's the social commentary.
Okay. Because there's not
it's also some of that.
Okay.
There's also some of social commentary. There's a lot of social commentary in this movie. But yeah. It's I would recommend it.
I'm just picturing shirt in the basement with like offering people corn dogs.
Maybe.
What was it? Was it Shirts? Or what was the kid guy's name?
Was it Shirts? Yeah, I don't remember what his nickname was in that game.
That's the perfect like cutaway clip to like a horror dungeon in a basement. Is just like that guy.
That guy?
Like
yeah.
Corn dog? Just like a lispy
God, if you found that guy in a basement, oh my God, that's no longer a comedy.
That's interesting. So you recommend the film? Even though it's wild and weird.
Yeah, it's one of those like more psychological things.
None of that new like torture porn, like sort of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, it's none of that really. There's obviously some uncomfortable stuff in there, but not like that.
Okay. Oh, we've been looking for new stuff to watch. Maybe I'll check that one out.
Yeah, it
Max
goes. Yeah, it's on Max. It goes in a direction you would not expect. But
okay. I mean, they cast the guy from the Apple commercials some already. Like,
yeah,
I didn't expect that.
Yep.
So, I haven't seen him in anything since like Drag Me to Hell. That was 10 years ago.
He plays pretty much the same character as in shit, what was the movie we watched? Sasquatch Gang? Yeah.
Oh, really? Does he drive a Thunderbird?
He's not quite he's more refined in that way, but he's still the same asshole, I would say.
Okay. Well, it's good you get to use that experience somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, time for the weekend rental, I suppose.
Yeah.
The weekend rental this episode felt fitting because it was over the Halloween season. They added Devil World to Nintendo Switch Online under the NES games, which came out on the Famicom, early black box game, never came over here, supposedly because of the Christian iconography. There's crosses and there's a devil.
I've heard parents saying we need to burn these kids' Switches now. So
yeah, it's pretty dark, demonic stuff. I had played this game before revisiting it again, and I walked away with the same feeling that I had before. Is someone had the idea of like, how do we take the sounds of like Dig Dug, but then make a game that's like Pac-Man but less fun?
And then we'll also take the sprite from Puzzle Bubble or Bubble.
Yes. And they pulled it off.
Yep.
They nailed it. Devil World.
Yeah, this is Miyamoto's first console game, they said. Console only game, right?
It shows, yes.
It is surprising though that it's very iterative. I guess if you're going to make a maze game, it's going to seem like you ripped off Pac-Man.
Right.
But
you make it different in that you can't pick up the pack pellets unless you have a crucifix.
Yep.
So.
And the maze is only what you can see, right?
Right. And that is maybe like one of the more interesting parts of the design is that on either side, you've got like these little demons or cherubs or whatever the fuck they are with like scrolls on either side of the screen. You can see them like moving the scroll. So it basically controls the playfield auto pans around. So you're not always able to get to the corner where you need to get to collect the last item to finish a level. You have to like almost navigate your way around it without being smushed into the bezels of the screen, I guess.
That's almost the game more than get away from the enemies.
Yeah, because there's almost no challenge from an enemy standpoint. It's almost always navigating successfully so that you don't smush your character or hit a dead end and get trapped.
Yep. And if you do get hit by an enemy, it's because you couldn't go the other way because they made that path unavailable, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such a basic game, which I guess a lot of the black box games were.
Mm-hmm.
And they did always have that more arcadey feel. And there's nothing inherently wrong with Devil World. There's just also nothing innovative about it. You know, it's almost like things you've seen before, but with a twist. And I just can't get over like how similar the sound design is and like the sound effects and the intro jingles and stuff to Namco stuff that was out at the same time. It almost feels like they just straight lifted it.
Yeah, the colors too. You know, they're very yeah. It is. It does seem very iterative on that style. I'll take this over Clue Land. I like this better than that.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with you. I think I might like Clue Land better.
Really? Okay.
And I don't like that game very much either.
I'll say I was pretty bad at this game because I just could not get in the mind frame of playing ahead of where the screen was scrolling. The biggest FU in this game, I think, is the devil at the top is doing the dances and basically controlling which way it's going, but he's pointing the opposite way of what I feel like he should be doing.
Sure.
Of where the screen is going. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but it just seems like he's pointing the opposite way of what it should be doing.
It's the power of Satan. Everything goes the opposite.
It's backwards world. Yeah. I do like the second style levels too, where you are trying to get the books.
Yeah. Sort of like complete the puzzle sort of gameplay.
Yep.
Yeah, it sucks though that once you've seen that, you're like, okay, I've seen what this game has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe if I had played like 20 levels, but after 5, I was like, I'm good. I know what this is. And you know, I kind of just got to the point where I started playing the game where I'm just like, I'm only going to play the center of the field and then just keep myself away from enemies. And then eventually the game feels generous enough to scroll over to an area where like you can easily grab stuff.
Yeah.
So I basically, because there's no timer, at least in that first segment that I was aware of, you can really just kind of just take your damn time. There's almost no pressure to it, which I don't know. When you compare that to something like a Dig Dug where enemies get more aggressive, or like a Pac-Man where they're like constantly pursuing you, it feels a little bit more like these enemies are just kind of in your way on occasion. So there's no real pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it's 50-50 whether or not they're going to go the way you think they're going to, right? Yeah. So I feel like it's just random. They do start adding more. I want to say I got up to level 10 or so, and then there might have been four guys out in the field, which then it gets just like you're just in the way. They were just in the way for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, because we should mention, like, once you pick up that crucifix to pick up the pellets, you also then have a basically ranged attack. So really, you can shoot out like a fireball or whatever it is to kill any enemies that are in your path. So it's almost like inconsequential because you're almost never without firepower because there's so many crucifixes just strewn throughout the game because they have to be, otherwise you couldn't ever collect the items and complete the puzzle, right?
Yep.
Which almost makes you wonder why they added that element to begin with, because it has so little impact in the gameplay.
Because there's so many of them anyway, yeah.
Right, just leave you the ability to shoot and pick up pellets. And also, why the fuck do ice cream cones just inexplicably appear and start flying across the screen at you?
That's ice cream in hell, I guess. I don't know.
It's a cold day in hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the needing the crucifix to get the pellets was just more annoying because it would always run out with like 3 pellets left that you need to swallow, and then it's like off the screen, and it's like, well, I guess I have to wait until it scrolls back to get those.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it was like 2 steps to get the next crucifix, but in the meantime, they've scrolled it off the edge. And,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's. I guess it's not surprising why they didn't port it. Like, if they had any concerns over like the iconography, like it wasn't worth scrubbing it, right? Like it wasn't worth pulling this out because this game just wasn't ever going to be. It wasn't ever going to be a huge hit. It was going to be another Clue Clue Land, right? Or Wrecking.
Yeah. If you didn't have it like ready at launch to do that, then what was they released it in Europe in like 1987, and it's like, well, that just didn't seem like it would be worth it.
No, fuck no. No, it's an interesting footnote in Nintendo history. It's just not. It's not worth a conversation, really, either. I mean, it's just a very fine game.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And it's funny because it is. My son's like, oh, that's the guy from Super Smash Brothers, because he's one of the devil is one of the trophy assist trophies in that game.
Yep.
And he pulls the screen around or whatever, which is a pretty cool thing in that game.
Yes.
But I want to say that's when I first, actually a lot of stuff that didn't come over here, I first learned about in Smash Melee. They had those little figurines that you...
Doshin the Giant, all that back lore that you're like, all right, I gotta start Googling this stuff.
Yeah, never came out over here, but...
Yeah.
I think he was one of the devil was in one of those, and I'm like, that game looks crazy.
Turns out crazy bad. Well, I don't know that there's much more we can add to it as far as describing this game. Other than maybe it's worth noting that, like any other black box game of that era, it is a completely black background. It's very much. This is very much outside of the scrolling, a one-screen game. This is that era of game. It all happens on one box.
It's pretty old.
So that gives you kind of a feel for what you're up against. What would you give it then on the buy, run, burn scale?
I think it's interesting to play for 5 or 10 minutes as a nice variation of Pac-Man and be like, okay, I see what they were doing. But I think overall it's not good compared to a lot of maze games that came up before that. That just, I think the chasing tension in those games is what makes those games good. Mm-hmm. This game is not that. It's a different enemy altogether, and it just doesn't quite work the same way that you would expect. So I think I'm going to burn this one.
Okay.
Send it to hell.
It's where it wants to be and belongs anyway. Yeah, I'm going to second that. I mean, you could make an argument for a rental, but like you said, it's a less interesting version of an already existing game. And that game I would rather rent than buy anyway. Mm-hmm. So by that standard, I think I have to burn Devil World. I like the quirky stuff where you learn through collecting. Like, this is a thing that didn't come here because of this, and that's fun. But when the gameplay behind it is super shallow, look at a couple screenshots and read the footnotes. It's not really worth playing this game.
Right. And every time you die, it just feels like it wasn't your fault either,
Right.
Or it just feels like the game kind of screwed you.
When I die, in any game. So.
But at least in Pac-Man, it's like, oh, they caught up to you because it just was a total mess that you were trying to get out of. But this is like, oh, you were scrolling a different way. You decided to scroll a different way than when I was on the bottom of the screen, and I'm screwed,
Yeah, exactly. That's bullshit. Yeah. Well,
I don't think this Miyamoto guy has a future in video games.
No, that's my thought, he won't go on to anything bigger or brighter. That's for sure. Peaked here. Well, I think that's an episode then. Another one down in the books.
Absolutely. We're send us a message. We'll let you know where we're organizing our burn, our public burn of Devil World.
Just look for the giant flaming cross in Andy's front yard.
Yeah, we might get a lot of right-wing people coming out for different reasons than why we're burning this game, but
leave your 2024 signs at home, people. That's not what this is about.
Yeah, but you can reach us at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Twitter, and until next time, be kind, rewind.
Bananas.
That guy was definitely just Bub, wasn't it?